I'll try to drive you through the word of these weird things that are registries, but are very useful. Everyone here knows about the registries, about the fact that they're very useful, but what is really a registry? So I think one definition could be here displayed as, and it is a very strict one we try to follow. That is a complete and continuous retrieving of nominative data of one or more health event. That could be a disease, such as the diagnosis, the PID diagnosis, or a therapy, such as a stem cell transplantation. There is an international registry. There are several international registries for stem cell transplantation in PIDs. In a geographically defined population, that could be an area in a country, that could be a regional registry, that could be a continental registry, and why not a worldwide registry? I know we've evoked that point for PID. Well, maybe in 2030, we will have a worldwide registry for PIDs. But the thing is that you've got a specific questions, you've got specific aims. You cannot have all questions and all answers to all your questions within this tool. So you got to get specific research and public health objectives, and you need a team. You need a team that is trained and that has these specific skills. So at the European level, there is the European Society for Immunodeficiency Registry, that is an online database that was built 11 years ago with the aim to build a common data pool to estimate the disease burden of PID in Europe, to provide an internet database that is secured for clinical and research data, to improve awareness of PID in Europe. And it was recently redesigned in terms of structure, organization, and governance. So this is the logo of the EASI Society. You've got here the national and local documenting centers that are displayed here. And this is how it works. So we've got 3 levels. The first level is the basic epidemiological features that are the ones that we all need to start. And we ask for yearly updates on survival and on treatment. So one example of what it can bring is, this is the interface displayed here. So you've got several tabs that leads you through the medical history of your patient. And it is really user-friendly, and there are not so many variables that you have to fill. We have managed to define working definitions for a clinical diagnosis of PID, meaning for each PID, for each patient lacking a genetic documentation, the documenting people need to follow the working criteria in order to get the highest quality data entered in our database. So I think it is a very useful tool that is freely online on our website. So there are built-in checks to ensure consistency and completeness. The user is guided through the whole process with these question mark. You can click in and have information on how to fill the data. And soon a genetic module will be implemented. So some examples of what it can help to give in terms of information, it is the prevalence. Prevalence means the proportion of patients with the diagnosis that are currently living in a country, for example. So it is expressed in terms of number divided by usually here 100,000 inhabitants per country. So here in France, the current minimal prevalence is 7, and it is different across countries. So it is interesting to discuss, but we don't have time so far now, but there are different reasons for that. So the other indicator that is really useful is the incidence. Incidence is the number of new cases diagnosed each year. So in our registry, we know that the minimal incidence is 250 new cases per year. So this is very important in terms of health indicators. There are also other health indicators such as quality of life, survival. It is important in terms of health policies for access to medical care, to treatment, and to assess the quality of the health system in each country. It is important in terms of allocation of resources, especially expensive resources, health economics, and forecasting for allocation resources. So I've put here some examples on IgG replacement therapy, but also stem cell transplant, gene therapy, enzymotherapy for ADA deficient patients. This is a very expensive drug, and also for newborn screening. So the level 2 is designed to address data, to address questions on a more detailed clinical and laboratory information for certain diseases categories. And the centers can choose to participate or not according to their resources for documentation and scientific interest. So I will just display this slide as an example of what it can help to bring in terms of clinical care. This paper was published last year in JACI. It is a collaborative effort, as you can see. And in CVID, with the huge number of patients, we were able, through the data in the registry, to show that early onset CVID is more frequent than previously recognized. Earlier the diagnosis, better the survival. Two different profiles of patients, the autoimmune / inflammatory / granuloma / lymphoproliferative phenotype. It has interrelated features, whereas bronchiectasis, meaning the infectious only phenotype, was not associated with any other clinical features. So this means that what we've discussed throughout these 2 days is really found again throughout this huge database. Different treatment strategies in Europe for CVID with the aim of considering IV or subcut immunoglobulin replacement. So the range is huge now. Here you can see here, and this is very important in terms of clinical care and clinical management throughout Europe. So the very low IgG trough levels below 4 grams per liter has been associated with poor clinical outcome, whereas higher trough levels were associated with reduced frequency of bacterial events and better quality of life. So the level 3 is a platform for projects targeting individual diseases in very higher details than the level 2. It has defined endpoints, for example, a number of patients or a period of observation, and it is a great opportunity for industry collaboration. Just one example that has been already presented this morning is the APDS registry, which is an industry-supported registry on patients with activated PI3K delta syndrome. So it has several aims: describe the natural history of this disease, develop a risk model for this disease. Identification of biomarker is one of the key features. Assess the impact of treatment strategies, and enroll patients in clinical trials, since there are 3 different drugs that will be available for patients. So this is here the details. If you are interested in, the PIs are Alison Conliffe, Stefan Ehl, and Sven Kracker, and there is a specific website for that. So this is I think my last slide. I summed up the level 1, 2, 3 project, and hopefully that will help us to move forward and in a more speedy fashion. And I wanted to acknowledge my colleagues in Freiburg University, Stefan Ehl, Bernd Rangertmann, and Gerhard Kindl, the ESID Registry Steering Committee, and the ESID Society, and thank you for your attention.